here to talk today about the gaps and holes, because Kristen and I have talked a couple times about what we've noticed in the online world, specifically in course creation. And being both former educators, go figure, we have plenty of complaints about what's going on in the online course world. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first? I mean, I know I gave the rough overview, but let's get to know you first, Kristen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me. So I'm Christan Wilson of Kristen Elise Coaching. I am a success coach for women entrepreneurs with online businesses. So what I do is I help women entrepreneurs go from sort of doing all the things in business to getting really clear and focused on how to position themselves in the marketplace with clear messaging and a clear offer, and a really strong mindset so that they can create consistent income in their business.
That's crucial right now, so many ways. So you and I have talked about, like, what are some of the gaps? What are a few of the gaps that I know that you feel are currently existing in the online course creation space?
Yeah, so for me, when I think about things that are missing in the online education space when it comes to course delivery, there are a couple things. The first thing I think about is making sure that we're checking for student success. So, as an educator, the goal is always to make sure that whatever our big goal is for our students, that we are actually getting them there. Like we're taking them from a point A to a point B. And in order for us to make sure that they actually get from point A to point B, we have to make sure that we're using checkpoints along the way. So we're literally checking in with our students and making sure that with each lesson or each module that they're getting something. And that could be through, a quiz, that could be through getting, feedback from them. But we want to make sure that we're not waiting until the end to see if, okay, did you get it? Or not asking at all. So that's one of the things that's definitely missing. Did you want to add something to that, Sam?
I was actually going to say, you hit the nail right on the head. So many course creators wait till the last minute, till the course is done, or till that person, they've gotten the metrics in the back end of their learning management system that says, oh, I've got my person's completed, yay. And now I'm going to send him the feedback form. Like, can you give me a testimonial? Whee! Well, if they haven't checked in throughout the entire time, how are they going to get the benefit of that learning at all? How are they going to know if they've gotten it? So milestone markers, checkpoints are huge. Cannot stress that enough.
Yeah. And then to add to that too, when you think about waiting until the end, you could have lost students. We know as educators, we lose students who are right in front of us sometimes. And we have to make sure that we are continuing to check in with them and make sure that they're getting what they need. And so that looks like being able to shift and pivot as we need to make sure that we are addressing that student's individual needs. And so we wait to the last minute, we really could lose a lot of students along the way. And that does not help our metrics in terms of getting student results.
No, I mean, I know that I've worked with a bunch of different online entrepreneurs who have their courses, and the high end of completion rates and success rates is like maybe 10 or 11. I had one client though that when we did her course from start to finish, go to 80% completion rate with a 60% success rate of them going on and creating the type of business that she was talking about. But at the end of the day, more or not, more often than not, we've got all the gurus saying, just push it out there, push it out there, push it out there. And that's why they have less than a 10% on most cases of completion. Right. And that's just completion. That's not even success. That's just finishing stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
When you say checkpoints, and I know we talked about, the idea of quizzes, these are the things that we would use in the classroom all the time. Right. But, do you see value in the flipped classroom approach? I mean, since you're gifted and you have a gifted certification and that kind of stuff. So what I'm wondering is, do you see value in the flipped classroom approach of like providing the material, and then like with your own coaching? I mean, I'm assuming you might even do this yourself. You provide them with some valuable information and then review it collectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, what I love about that flipped classroom approach, which is, what most online courses are basically, you are delivering the content up front, either via video, or it could be audio, or it could be written content, but you're delivering that content up front to your students, and then maybe coming together to talk about it if it's a coaching program piece, or just kind of moving along. But yeah, I do see value there because the students have time to actually process the information. And I think that's the biggest piece for me, is that because students all have different learning styles, whether you're, a young student or an adult learner, it really requires each student to be able to have that adequate time to process the information and any questions that they might have, right? Process it, see if they have questions, see how they might be able to apply it to the larger skill that they're being taught. So absolutely, there's value there.
And that, I mean, boils even back into the assessment piece. It gives you that, assessment ability firsthand while you're discussing what you've covered, in your coaching calls. But then also we want to really think about how we're chunking the materials. And that's
Right.
another teacher term, but it's like they're really just the breaking up of the content, into appropriate amounts of pieces. A 5-minute video that doesn't say anything and it's just a story doesn't really get, any point across other than, hey, I'm a good listener. I enjoyed your story.
Yeah.
What do you think
Yeah.
about chunking? And
Absolutely. And I think that's a skill, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're not taught how to do that, it's easy to miss, because that's something that as educators we're taught to do in our profession, to help our students get from that point A to that point B. But again, when it comes to teaching anything, with your overall course objective, whatever you want your students to walk away with, you have to break that down into manageable steps. And
Yep.
so, you've got two different ends of the spectrum, where you may have some courses that, it's just all the information all at one time and there's no breaking it up. Or you have these short 5 to 7 minute videos that, like you said, they aren't saying anything. And so you're not getting to the point B. So it really takes strategy and intention to take that overall goal, whatever you want your students to walk away with, and you say, okay, how can I break this down into the actual steps that they
Yep.
need to take and master to reach that point B. And so chunking materials is extremely important. And that's definitely a gap that I see with online education.
I even personally have seen that in adult education in instructional design. And that is a huge issue for me at as an instructional designer, as a teacher, as an online course creator. It's huge, because when we start forgetting to put the learner first and we don't chunk it to meet their needs, I mean, it sounds like it's common sense, but it isn't, because a lot of
Yeah.
people, like you said, aren't trained to do it. And
Right.
then I have always heard, since I was even in college, and it's a very offensive statement, but the idea that you become a teacher because you can't do the thing.
Right.
Teachers teach because they can't do, which is actually a load of BS. No, it's not a hogwash,
Agreed.
because we are trained to do these things like chunk materials, assess, check in with students, and how to do, even to check in with emotional and mental states of people, and recognizing, okay, when is that bell curve of when they're going to burn out,
Yeah.
and how do we establish that sense of accountability? And in the
Right.
online space, we got to do the same thing. It's just they're not in front of us. And I mean,
Right.
I have a variety of ways that I do that with my clients, through email and text and messenger features. But
Mhm.
do you see that happening regularly? At least I don't. I'm just wondering. I find that to be a huge gap.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a gap, but I also think it's something that can easily be addressed when we start bringing in the feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're really checking in to make sure that we're giving the right amount of information for our students to process and to apply the skill, to get to that final point B. And so when we get that feedback from our students, we can decide what we need more or less of. Do we need additional lessons to get them to the point B? Do we need um, a little more value or content, or a little less. So it's really just kind of about tweaking. And even as educators, we don't always get it right. Like the first time, we're really just putting it out there and trying it and getting feedback from our students. And that's why feedback is so, so huge. So it really goes hand in hand. But yeah, I don't see the chunking of materials as something that is often addressed, but it is something that's extremely important. And we can't assume that because we're working with adult learners that, you know, we can put more content in there and and they'll be fine. I mean, it's the same. The learning process is the same. We have to take material bit by bit, because once we learn one sub skill, then we need to have an opportunity to see if we can apply it, right? And then that next step, just like you were alluding to, is going to stack on top of it. And so if we didn't get step one, then how in the world are we going to get to step two? And then if we don't move in that way, then how will we ever get to the end result?
You don't. And that's huge. And I mean, that is what's lacking right now in course world. I mean, and I love the point that you made. I mean, you didn't say it this way, but it's a thing I like to say. Education is iterative. I mean, we don't even always get it right as teachers. And, you know, the whole point is that once you put a course out there, you should be editing it based on all that feedback, all that information from your learners and your students.
Yeah.
There's no perfect course. Like, teachers have agenda books that are like lesson plan books. I mean, I even just bought one because I'm homeschooling my kids now,
Right.
you know, to get me back into the swing of things, you know?
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm realizing, okay, well, even as a parent and a former teacher and a course creator, I'm looking at them like, oh, well, they didn't get that, so I got to go back and redo it tomorrow. You know, these are all things that make education iterative, and the stacking and process building is so crucial. And I don't know why people don't seem to realize that in the course world.
Well, and I think it goes back to, there is a gap. So there is an opportunity for course creators to learn this information. So just because they are told that, you know, they can turn their knowledge and expertise into a course and make money online, doesn't mean to just dive in and go for it and put all your knowledge into a few videos and slap a price tag on it. There is an opportunity for these course creators to actually learn, what does solid instruction look like? What does it look like to actually ensure that our students are getting results? Because if our students are getting results, they're going to refer more students. You get more students, and then that's more income for your business. So, you know, the gap is there, but there's an opportunity, you know, as well.
And that's the beauty of it, because a lot of the gurus out there are saying, you know, you can just slap the stuff out there and you can slap the price tag on it and word vomit pretty much into a video and it'll be great. But we all know at the end of the day, we don't all learn that way, and it is valuable. And I'm thankful that there are a lot of course creators out there that are taking the time to process it, because they are going to get more money in their pocket. But they're going to get more money in their pocket because they're helping. They're genuinely educating. They're meeting the goal that they've promised their people. So one of the big things that I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this too, but is they really use marketing speak once they're inside the course. Like, they're two different styles of speaking and educating, and it drives me nuts, because I'm just like, well, first off, I'm not the best marketer, and I know that. But I do know education well, and I do know how to chunk and process and tap into multiple intelligences. But when you only speak like a marketer in your course, you don't really get that result. At least that's what I see.
I agree. There's a big difference between, you know, teaching the marketing side of course creation and then teaching the actual learning side of it. Like, how do I teach this in a way that gets results? So I think the difference there is, like, when you're marketing, you're focused on getting clients. When you're focused on the teaching, you're focused on getting results. And I think it's really important to focus on, how do we get results first, so that we can continue to market this in a powerful way. I think oftentimes, you know, I have come across course creators who are not as confident in their courses. They're not as confident in selling their courses. And I think it's because they're not sure if their course is going to get results.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important to understand, as you're course creating, how do I structure this in a way that I know my students are going to get from point A to point B? What are some of those components I need to put in there to make sure that they're getting value, that they're engaged, that I'm not going to lose them, and that at the end, they're going to be able to do what the course says they'll be able to do. And then that pretty much markets itself, because then you've
Yep.
got students who've graduated from your course and they can do the thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, I love the way Sunny Lenarduzzi says it. She takes this, the zero to hero state. Well, in education, it's literally, you're just backwards mapping. You're literally taking them from that hero state, from where they've like won the thing, they've become super successful. And then how did you get there? Like, what are the milestones? What are those markers, those feedback, those point checks where hopefully they've achieved success? And if they haven't, what are we building in to make sure that they do get that success, so that they get to that hero state at the end of excitement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to your point, that is what, the missing piece is. Like, how do we teach course creators to insert those little things, those little components into a course? Because it isn't just put videos up and walk away with the price tag on it and assuming that students are going to get results. There is strategy behind it. There are things that you can incorporate into your course to help to ensure that students are getting results. And I think it's really important to note as well that you will have some students that won't finish. Mm-hmm. You will have some students that won't do the work. You will have some students that will not get results. And so we're not saying that, 100% of your students all the time are going to get it, for sure. But what this does is it ensures that your percentage is a lot higher than it would be if you just slap the videos up and walk away. There are things you can do to really package that course in such a way that your students almost have no choice but to be successful, because they've got all these support mechanisms all around.
I mean, that's a perfect way of explaining it, because I had a virtual coffee with somebody this week, and she literally told me she purchased a course very recently, and I think she said she's paying like $497 for it. And don't quote me on it. I'm not. But she's paying all this money, and it's supposed to be a certification course of how to learn how to do specific aspect of social media. Okay, sounds reasonable, right? It's from a big social media company online they're always putting ads out there everywhere. And all they did was throw videos up there on how to do it. And if it's a certification level course and you don't have any of these pieces built in, how the heck is anyone going to be able to get certified? And it's not building your course to the test or the certification, but understanding their hero state is that they can do the social media concept that this woman purchased this course for. And she was very livid with me on the phone. I'm like, I didn't build it. And she's like, I know you didn't. But she's like, I spent all this money. I want to get this certification, but all I'm getting are these awesomely made videos. And I mean, they're beautiful. She was showing me. Yeah. But she has no resources to support her throughout it. And there's no checkpoints along the way that she's getting the information. It's just a purchase and forget. So we've really got to think about that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting, especially the part where you said, she paid all this money and she's got the videos in the course that she's watching, and they're, beautiful. The recordings are great. And so I think sometimes we worry so much about the aesthetics, right? Like,
is it pretty?
So beautiful. But at the end of the day, if that's not getting results, that's not where our focus needs to be. You have time if you want to go in and add some things to make your course,
pretty,
beautiful, or pretty.
Pretty.
But at the end of the day, number one priority is, does this course get results? I would rather have your basic Zoom recorded lesson,
Mhm.
you know, and have all of these support mechanisms in there to make sure I get results. It doesn't really matter to me, you know, if the recording was professional or not professional. That doesn't matter. And then the other thing that your point brings up with this particular woman is this idea of creating a course in integrity,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, if you're not getting your students results and they're supposed to walk away with a certification or a new skill, and you're not concerned with how to fill the gap, because there's a difference between knowing and not doing anything about it,
Mhm.
and knowing and then saying, you know what, I want to fix it. I want to go in and put those support mechanisms in there. But you want to always operate your business in integrity.
And
And
that's important for every job, for
yeah,
everything. And especially like with you, how you use these kind of things and talk to people through coaching. And I've
yeah,
seen a lot of coaches that don't do it in integrity.
yeah, yeah. It's so, so important. And again, that's how you keep students coming back to you and referring, because you're doing these things and you're operating your business in integrity versus not operating in integrity. And people know.
Hmm.
People know.
And that's,
So
and if you're not getting the ROI that they paid for, you're not getting the ROI from more clients.
correct. Absolutely.
So just to kind of wrap it up, our main gaps that we found was we are lacking tapping into a variety of learning styles and multiple intelligences, which I harp on to everybody at all points in time.
Yeah.
So sorry, but it's a reality. We're not chunking the material enough, and we're not meeting the learners where they are and acquiring appropriate feedback at various milestones to make sure that our students are learning what they're looking for. And lastly, we're not really engaging.
Yeah.
We thought we were coming out with 4, but we're really looking at 5+ gaps that are out there in the
Hmm.
course creation world. So
Correct.
really engaging with your students will give you that feedback, which will make your course better, which will then, even if it's an evergreen course, make it progress forward. I mean, because evergreen is capable of
Hmm.
still being very connected and engaged with the person you've purchased from. So
Yeah. Yeah.
got to take it to
And
them.
Evergreen, for those who don't know, I just wanted to share that an Evergreen course is a course that just keeps running,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's not a live course. It's just one of those courses that keeps running because it's automated.
Mhm.
And so it's one of those where you create the course and you're able to put it out there and keep getting students in it. But even with those, like we said, those support mechanisms can and should be in there. And really, before you decide to turn your course evergreen, it's really important that you know that you can get results. And I know that's something that's taught a lot too is, go ahead and automate. Go ahead and automate your courses, put it out there, slap it up onto Teachable, slap it up onto whatever,
Mhm.
course platform you'd like, and then just keep driving traffic to it.
Yep.
But that's not an integrity if
Nope.
we're not checking to make sure that our students are getting results. And
And
so
making it
going back,
iterative, like
correct,
going back in all the time once you're getting that feedback. Oh wait, I didn't give them the thing that I promised. Okay, crap, fix it.
absolutely. And it can actually be simple,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you automated a course, being able to support your students in a way that ensures that they're getting results, engaging with them, and making sure you're getting feedback can be as simple as having a Facebook group that
Mhm.
correlates with your course, where students can actually check in and ask questions. You can check in with them, ask them, how did module 1 go, how did lesson 4 go, and they can ask questions along the way. And so that could be a support mechanism. It doesn't have to be hard. It
No,
just
it
has to
doesn't.
exist.
It does. It has to exist, and you have to be engaged with it as the
Yeah.
course creator because it's not passive.
Yeah.
But, well, thank you so much for taking the time out to meet with me today and really
Absolutely.
delve into this. As 2 former educators, it is really interesting and a very different perspective because I know you've had corporate experience and I've had corporate experience. And when you put all those together, you get a very unique outlook on entrepreneurial world and course creation and multiple revenue streams. So I can't stress to you enough. Thank you so much. Um,
You're
if people
so
want to connect
welcome. Thank you.
if people want to connect with you, Kristen, how can they get a hold of you?
The best place to find me is over on Facebook. I have a Facebook page at Christan Lee's Coaching, and then I also have a Facebook group called the Rooted Entrepreneurs. You can find me in either one of those places. And again, that is Facebook page Christan Lee's Coaching, and Facebook group the Rooted Entrepreneur.
All right. And I will put all that in the show notes for everybody, or whatever it's technically called on the platforms that we're in. And again, everybody, you can find me. I'm Sam Groff at Omnibiz Services on Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can also go to my website, which is omnibizservices.com. You do have a website as well?
Yes, I do have a website, kristenelise.com.
All right. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.